a good amount of notes on this one, but yeah, still lots to say, I think, on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. It really is that.
I wasn't as impressed. I liked it the first time round, and I found it a bit of a struggle watching it again, I must admit.
Oh, we're getting straight into opinions. Oh, my word.
Yeah.
My word.
Yeah.
Well, okay, first things first, everyone. Don't rock the setup. Don't press that button. Don't touch wood. Don't curse. I mean, I think I know why the Dreadcast it got ill for a bit. I think I know why. And I think you know why. And I think we all know why. It was cursed. What was it cursed by?
I mean, it's got to be Antrum, hasn't it?
I mean, there's no other reason. Look, right, folks, we have been doing this. Myself and your lovely self, myself, Tom, and your lovely self, Aidan. Welcome to the Dreadcast, folks. We'll get into the episode in a minute. We've been doing this for 7 months now, you and me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not had an issue. It's recording's been fine. We watch Antrum, okay? We watch Antrum, and the next episode just shits the bed.
Yeah.
Explain it.
It really is a cursed movie.
It is the deadly. Well, maybe not the dead. It's the lamest movie ever made that has a minor curse. But oh my word,
you will be slightly inconvenienced by this movie.
Only slightly. You'll step on a piece of Lego. Oh,
on an upturn plug. Yeah.
So for everyone that does enjoy the Dreadcast, keep your fingers crossed, folks, and let's hope we can get through today without our computers exploding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
But
gonna keep an eye on it and make sure that everything is working as it should.
We are. We got a few bandages and plasters and ointment put on the computer just to keep it nice and secure. But yes, I'll go back to the DC. Keeping it short and sweet. No,
nice.
I can't do that. Can't do the DC. we might get sued. I don't think
DC.
the DC, the Dread Sea,
the Dead Sea, the Dread Sea.
Welcome back to the horror podcast, folks.
The D-cast.
The D-cast.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
The big D-cast. Oh, we are finally back, and yes, we will return to Frankenstein later on this month when we tackle The Mummy. So a nice little Boris Karloff double bill. But today's episode, we are looking at our finale of the Gates of Hell trilogy. Before we get into that, because it's been like ages since we spoke. Hi.
What you
got? What you got for me? What you got?
Hi.
What you got? What you got?
Talking about Boris Karloff and the fact that due to the gremlins in the system, we're going to have a little bit of a double bill while we do a sort of quick run back through what we talked about for Frankenstein and then our review of The Mummy.
Yes.
I noticed Amazon Prime has a Boris Karloff documentary on it.
Oh.
I think it's called The Man Behind the Monster or something similar.
I've
not watched it myself yet, but when I was looking the other day for Frankenstein, it popped right up there. Thought it might be worth a view if I can squeeze it in before we come to record The Mummy.
For sure, yeah.
Gonna give that a watch.
Definitely fit that in. That would be great to check out as well. Oh, sick! Yeah, that looks great.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, not very much really. I've been buying a lot of movies. You might have seen on the socials and stuff.
That's what we want to see.
That's what I know. So I did searching through those charity shops and CEX and stuff, looking for them bargains. So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. Got the House movies. All.
I love House.
Nice box set of the House movies. And I've only seen a couple of those, so it'd be good to have the rest of them to hand.
4, right?
Yeah, well, certainly 4 in that set, unless there's like a really belated sequel that I don't know about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's just 4.
Yeah.
What else did we get? Another Texas Chainsaw Massacre special edition 3-disc steelbook. It's very nice. It's very, very nice. I did find, and I didn't get it at the time, but I'm gonna have to go back for it. I think, because I've not stopped thinking about it. A nice DVD collector's edition of the Exorcist trilogy. Now I know the sequels aren't great, but as a box set and as the whole trilogy,
number 3 is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. In my honest opinion, number 3 is fantastic and has one of the best jump scares in horror.
True. Yeah, it does. But let's be honest, it's not as good as the original.
Well, no, obviously not.
Nothing is as good as the original. But, for being a bit of a completionist and, I'm willing to sort of saddle those bad sequels and such. And it was a really nice box set. So I'm hoping it's not been snapped up, and I was foolish enough to leave it behind. What else did I get? Copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, because me and my girlfriend decided we just need to own all of them. Bad sequels aside included.
Excuse me, sir. Bad sequels. It's a great film.
No.
Oh, the other ones.
Yeah, the other ones. So yeah. No, TCM2's excellent. Loved
as
it.
is TCM4. I will die on that hill. Okay.
You're in a minority there.
Matthew McConaughey turns it up to 11 in that film, and I love it.
But yeah, and the remakes, and But as I said, we're gonna collect the whole lot, warts and all. And I'm inadvertently trying to now get every version of the original as well. I think I've just decided this is like a little side project. I'm just gonna get a bunch of different, because there's a bunch of different releases. Like say that steelbook. I found another Blu-ray version of it the other day that had there's the 4K to get. See, so just as many different versions of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre I can get, I will.
I would just slowly bring it on camera just to show the beautifulness of my 4K collection edition, but it is downstairs. No, I like that idea though of just one specific film trying to get all the different versions. That's a really nice collector's.
I know a bunch of people do it with games, and
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, they'll collect every version of a game and every console release, and Japanese versions and all that sort of thing. So yeah. Well, but speaking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you happened across a very expensive collectible for that the other day, didn't you?
Oh my word! I forgot all about that. Let's see. I don't even know if I've still got the link, because it will be on the Twitter. I was basically just doing some more home renovations, light renovations, like putting up movie posters in the living room / movie theater, which I'm trying to make it. Got my Grindhouse one up. I got my True Romance one up, and I want to get a new Texas Chainsaw one because it's my favorite horror film. But it's apparently incredibly hard to find a poster. It's not like the old days where you could go to WH Smith or HMV and you've got the I don't know what you call it, the racks. Posters, the racks of posters, but you go, that's cool, and there'd always be one there. You don't really get that anymore, I don't think anyway. And they're really hard to find online. Do they?
CEX stores do still have poster racks, yeah, but the range of what they have is very limited. And if you want like 25 different Pokemon posters, then by all means, check it out. And then there'll be like a couple of COD Modern Warfare ones, a couple of random Stranger Things ones, and then I don't know, maybe a Rick and Morty thrown in. But yeah, the variety, the range isn't as good as big as used to be back in the day. But they do still have those poster racks around.
They're hard to find. I've found online. I'm trying to find this original. It's the white poster with who will survive and what will be left of them. Great piece of artwork. And they're really hard to find online. Some I found were like the image then blown up and it's all pixelated and blurry.
Yeah.
I just want a good print movie poster you used to be able to get for a tenner or 15 quid. And I might have to find a good quality image and get it printed at like a photo box or Vista print or something. One I did find, I can't remember the website, I've just found a screenshot. 27 by 41 inches. I think that's about same movie poster size. Linen backed. I don't really know what linen backed. I guess that's the back. I mean, I guess it comes framed. It doesn't really say.
Yeah.
That's one sheet, and it'll set you back about £1,075. I haven't got that.
No. No. I don't think nobody in the right mind should have £1,000 poster money to just
shipping calculated at checkout as well. So we haven't even added the shipping.
Oh yeah, okay.
Insane, absolutely insane. I couldn't believe it, and that's what I mean.
And that's a paper. That is a poster. It's not one of these display metal things or no.
And I think you could even get them like one of those. Yeah, you see those on like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. Metal poster art. You probably get that for a couple of £100. Yeah, not £1,000. Who?
£1,000 is
insane.
Scandalous. So
I mean, scandalous.
even for like an original vintage one signed by the cast, I wouldn't expect to pay that money.
I think what you could do with that money.
I mean, you could go and buy several versions of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in various formats.
You could find every version you're after.
You could buy every version. Yeah.
Oh.
VHS, Laserdisc.
This is very. Do you know my Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 story on Twitter? It's a very short story.
I'm not sure, so go ahead.
So every year for the last couple of years now, I've been doing like around Halloween time. I'll run down my favorite horror films and whatnot, and just give it a brief description. And a couple of years ago, I did a little thread on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 because it's one of my favorite horror films. I love it. And I tagged Bill Moseley and I tagged Caroline Williams because I tagged the actors when I'm giving them praise.
Yeah.
Remember that, right? Praise. And I wrote about how much I loved it, and someone, because I tagged them and put hashtags in, so someone I didn't know was able to comment on the thread and said, I loved the first one but wasn't a big fan of the second one. And I replied basically saying, that's fair, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I still personally love it. Oh, Caroline Williams did not like that.
Oh, really?
Oh, she did not. She went off at me and then blocked me. And I'm and I'm kind of there like, hang on. That's a fair comment. I still love your work. I still love the film. But every film is not for everyone. Like every single film ever made is not for everyone. It's a fair comment.
Of course it's not. You were still defending it.
Yeah.
You weren't the one with the negativity. Maybe she just got confused in the moment and thought that you were the one.
Williams. Let's see. I think I'm still blocked. It's that's probably never going to change. The podcast isn't blocked. So I can praise her work and hopefully get blocked. There we go. Caroline Williams following. Yeah, it's nice. Just a little story there. Bill Moseley was lovely though. Bill Moseley gave me a like. Bill Moseley's great. Bill Moseley is a lovely gentleman.
Well, that's all right. But not Stretch. Stretch wasn't playing.
Not Stretch. Unfortunately.
Well, that's a shame.
That's a fun little story. Nice little story there for you.
Oh, well, I'll have to try harder. I'll come back next week with a story of some horror actress or actor that's blocked me for being complimentary about their work.
You were so fucking great in that film. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of annoy Bruce Campbell into blocking me by telling him how much I love Ash.
If you're maybe really, really, really soppy about it, he might be like, "Oh God, this is getting annoying now."
I mean, if he's not sick of it by now, I don't think. Yeah. I'd be very surprised if I'm the straw that breaks the camel's back in that regard. But,
yeah. I think you're right.
For the good of the entertainment of the pod, I'm willing to do it.
Good man.
So I've been buying up a bunch of movies. I picked up a Blu-ray copy of Poltergeist and one of the Chainsaw remakes. I can't quite remember which one it is off the top of my head now. What else did I get? Oh, I'm struggling to remember.
Do we find that picture you sent me?
Yeah, I found that picture. Because say it was the Poltergeist ones that was the additions. I think it was I think it was mainly chainsaws.
You got Time Bandits.
Oh, Time Bandits. Yeah. I mean, not a horror movie, but a classic nonetheless.
Oh, I can't see it because it's down the bottom of my screen. Hang on, I'm gonna get it on the mobile device. Oh, I just scrolled up past the Psycho collection. Oh, the Psycho 4K. Even though Psycho 4 is not great, but Psycho 3 is okay.
Oh, but that does look like an excellent box
set. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it does. That's really nice.
You got Excalibur.
Oh, yeah.
And you got Slumber Party Massacre. Well done,
Slumber Party Massacre, yeah.
Thank God you didn't buy number 2.
I mean, I will buy number 2 when I see it.
All right, just don't force anyone you know in your life to watch it. I still have no idea what's going on in that film.
No, I suppose the other news, horror related news, is unfortunately they found Julian Sands, didn't they?
Yes, from Warlock, right? I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, that was that search had been going on for quite some time, right?
Since January, yeah, it was January when he went missing. Yeah.
Yeesh. Well,
yeah, terrible tragedy.
Thankfully, there's now closure for loved ones, though, now at least. But that is terrible, yes.
But that's about it for me. Horror-related news of late, I think. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Did you see the link I sent you on Instagram earlier?
Yes, I did click a follow as well. Do tell.
As far I've not looked into it in a huge amount of detail, but as far as I can tell, because it came from the same page.
Yeah.
But the In Search of Darkness documentary team, I guess, that did the absolutely spectacular,
absolutely stellar
80s horror movie rundown documentary, whatever you want to call it, the 3-parter, the In Search of Darkness trilogy. They're also working on a 90s, moving into the 90s. I don't know if it's going to be another trilogy or not.
Yeah, it's 90 to 94, right?
I think that'll be the first part, and I'm assuming it's going to be another trilogy, yeah. But related to them, or at least I found it through their Instagram page, there is a horror game-related documentary sort of in the works. I don't think it's got a title or anything as such at the minute. But there is, when I found they've got an Instagram page, and on their account, there's a link to a survey.
Mm-hmm.
So I did just complete this survey earlier, and it just asks for some general opinions about horror gaming. And then there's a little bit in there about, like, would you be interested in, funding a Kickstarter to make a documentary about this, and what would you like to see in said documentary? So I ran through that, and that I just think it's a great idea for another doc, and I'm all for more horror docs and horror gaming docs.
It's called Terabytes.
Terabytes, that is it. It's
Terabytes,
right up our alley, isn't it, really? So
for sure. Terabytes doc on Instagram. It's a big TB on their logo. So go check that out. Their posts are pretty cool. A lot of horror games that I remember from a long time ago, like System Shock. I think there's one of Clock Tower.
They've put in some of the Friday the 13th Evolutions.
The Suffering. Wow, I love the Suffering. I didn't. So are they definitely affiliated with the In Search of Darkness?
I'm not sure. It's just because I found one through the other, and the post that I saw on the In Search of Darkness one seemed like they were friendly enough. You know what I mean? I think it felt like it's like, and this is. It didn't say this is our next project or this is another project, but it was like more like friends of ours are going to do this sort of thing. You know what I mean? So there's some maybe loose affiliation there. I'm not sitting here saying it's definitely from the same team or anything like that, but it's if it's in the same vein as and the same style as their docs, then
for sure,
it'll be great. Yeah, they're really well done. So
I think the one, and it's not so much a negative or a downside, it's one thing I would have changed with all three of the In Search for Darkness, is that I think, and this is they may not have been planning the trilogy, is that I think they blew their load too early with the films in the first documentary, because the third documentary, it felt like they had run out of.
There's still a few. I know what you mean. There's still a few good ones in there.
A few good ones, and ones that you wouldn't have heard of. So it's still very interesting. But I think you gotta sprinkle, kind of like what we do with the podcast. You gotta sprinkle like your unknowns with your cult classics, with your mod, like bit of everything. But they may not have planned to do a trilogy. They may have got so successful. It's like we'll do another. Either way, they're still fantastic. They're still fantastic.
If you've not seen those, they're definitely worth your time. They're a big watch, particularly part 3 is like 5 hours or something ridiculous. So you're not necessarily going to want to sit through it in one sitting, but they are definitely worth watching. And yeah, looking forward to their 90s one.
Do you know?
I've done a little bit of horror gaming just lately. I got myself. I don't know if you may have seen it advertised on. It's been doing the rounds on TikTok just recently. There's a little plug-in sort of Fire Stick device, stick it in your TV, a couple of Bluetooth controllers, and it's like every Mega Drive game on there.
It's basically like a Raspberry game. It's basically like a Raspberry Pi with emulators. Yeah.
So I took a punt on that, and it arrived over the weekend, and I have been reliving my sort of 10-year-old summer holidays vibe for the last couple of days, just feet up on the sofa playing some old school Mega Drive games, and there was a lot of Splatterhouse. Been playing a lot of Splatterhouse.
Oh yes.
Been playing a lot of The Haunting, starring Polterguy. If you ever saw that one.
What was it? What was it on?
It's called The Haunting, starring Polterguy. TM. I think they were desperate to sort of make him a character, but essentially you play a teen poltergeist. And the objective of the game is to possess objects in the house and scare the family that live there out of the place. So you'll do things like you'll jump into the bathtub and then it sort of vibrates and the father figure or whatever will walk over to it and it'll fill it with blood, or a bat will come out of the chimney.
Wow!
You do a bunch of different things, and it's all very cheesy. I mean, the poltergeist is like this leather jacketed clad, cool dude with his sort of mohawk, and you're an edgy, cool 90s teen poltergeist.
This looks awesome.
People. It is great. It is absolutely fantastic, and just not very well known. Whenever I mention it to people, they're like blank faces. But it was one of my all-time favorite games, and it's on this collection, and I was just thrilled to bits.
It's an EA game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't as big and evil as they are now, back then, but still, like I see the artwork, and it's very goofy, like with his big 80s hair. But there's this as well. I don't know if you've seen this. There's an ad for it, and it's got more of a human-looking poltergeist.
Right, yeah, no, I've never seen this.
Bit of Lou Ferrigno painted green ad.
Look. Yeah. Oh no, it's fantastic. If you ever get a chance to play that on an emulator or you find it in the wild, give it a go.
Awesome.
It's fantastic. The story's really quite dark as well for a video game, a kid's video game, because you're a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Because the son of the family got you killed basically in an accident through negligence. You died because of the son of this family, but because they're rich, they got off any sort of punishment or jail time, and now you're seeking revenge. So it's like real legit horror movie sort of storyline, but framed around spooky skeletons and really sort of comic Halloween stuff. It's great.
There's an article here about it with a line saying, if Mortal Kombat was bloody, Haunting was downright gory, nasty, and incredibly generous with guts and blood.
I mean, there's maybe not quite in the same vein as Mortal Kombat, no pun intended. I mean, sure, there's blood in it, but it's very more cartoony stuff. But some real horror imagery in there, like bleeding walls and things coming out of the bathtub, and there's probably, I've not got very far again with it, and I've not played it for 20 years or more, but there's probably a few niche references to movies in there as well.
Yeah,
great game, absolutely fantastic. So thrilled to bits that I've been able to play that again. So
also, yeah, I've always got a continuous list of video games that I either want for my collection or want to play, and I've just added that because I know I'll forget about it. There's no way I will remember this game.
Oh no, it's like I say, it's ridiculously obscure. I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend the other day, and she was like looking at me like I was speaking in tongues. Said she was like, "What? No, you've made this up. This is ridiculous." It's like straight up, legit. It happened. It's a real game. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at it on eBay
The Haunting, starring Polterguy.
It's wicked. Wow, it's pretty expensive. Like, you're looking for cartridge only from the States. About 50 quid including postage. In box, 85 quid. Wow.
Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty obscure one. There's probably not that many copies of it still kicking around.
Well, there you go, folks. You heard it here. A nice little obscure horror game you may not have heard on other horror podcasts.
Yeah, check that out. If there's any retro gaming types out there listening, that's definitely one to check out. But yeah, I think that's my sort of horror news activity of late. Yeah.
Not really much on this end, because my life is a roller coaster, babe. However that awful song goes. The only thing probably is about today's film. So it's probably best to get the biggest confused faces on while we talk about it. Yeah.
Let's get cracking on it. There's plenty of room for that on the internet. There's plenty of room for that sort of stuff.
There's plenty of room. Well, apparently not to Twitter. There's not plenty of room because if you don't pay your server fees, then you get limited to how many tweets you can view. So, folks, if you've not subscribed to our podcast on everything, you are going to be limited to about 60 minutes listening of this podcast. I'm afraid.
Which might be more than enough, in all honesty.
It might be more than enough.
That might be fine. You might be all right with that.
Depending on how much of this recording actually works, you might just be fine. But I'm afraid you got to go and sub, follow, rate, like, comment, and share to really get the full whack of this podcast. That's to be allowed. And you can find it and do all that on Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean, Amazon, and YouTube, all by searching the Dreadcast. So do go there.
Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth.
I'm better at this than Elon is, that's for sure.
You get in there. You get right on that.
Biggest fucking loser on the internet, that man is. Anyway, speaking of ridiculously confusing, hard to watch horror films, this is the end of our Gates of Hell trilogy, Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, and it wasn't a bang to go out with, in my opinion.
No, I'll agree with you.
Oh, we're talking about House by the Cemetary, brother.
Any of them been bangers, really? I don't think we've been thrilled.
No. But out of all three, I think The Beyond is the best one.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that.
I'm not saying it's a masterpiece. I'm saying if we had to choose between all three.
Yeah. Just looking at those three films, yeah.
Yeah.
So where would you place this? Because I'd put House by the Cemetery at number 2.
Number 3.
See, it's number 3 for you. I liked it a little bit more than City of the Dead. City of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, City of the Living Dead. Reason why is number 3. Because I had half the time I had no clue what was going on. The pacing is everywhere. The story is so convoluted at times.
It can't work out what it wants to do.
It's a mess at times.
Yeah.
And it didn't do. Oh, it's not a bad film. It's not a great film, no.
No, I think that's right. I think the biggest problem with it, if we just set up our stall early on and say the biggest problem with it is it can't decide on the story. It can't decide on what it wants to do. It throws a lot of things in that end up being complete red herrings. They lead to nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you just it goes off on a different tangent, and you get something else. And then they throw a twist in at the end. It's it's confused. I think confused is probably the best word for it.
I was very confused. Yeah. Yeah, I think though, if you're new to the podcast or you have been listening and still haven't watched the films, do go back and watch. I mean, the way we've done them is in release order. Mm-hmm. You know, they came out within 2 years, all 3 films. This is 1981. City of the Living Dead was first, 1980, then The Beyond, 1981. But do go back and watch them. Watch all 3 and then listen to our reviews and see what you think. But I also saw a great article with someone saying if you put Fulci's Zombie in the mix with this, you can kind of get your own, or you can kind of mix them around not in the chronologically released order, but in a sort of made up story order where if you put House of the Cemetery first, then I think it was The Beyond. Like each film is opening a gate, but each gate is getting more progressively worse and worse and worse.
Okay, right.
You know,
and you
like
end with zombie.
End with zombie, yeah. Like I mean, there's already a zombie on the boat in Manhattan, and then the voodoo shit. Like they get predominantly worse and worse and worse. Even though Zombie came out in '79, I just thought that was quite a nice little interesting way of watching it, rather than because if you watch them like we done, if we watch them in this way, I personally think the third film in this trilogy was a letdown compared to the middle. And City of the Living Dead was okay, but the middle was where it peaked for me.
I mean, one thing, arguably, is there is no gate in House by the Cemetery.
No.
It's not. It's a people under the stairs situation by the end of it. Yeah,
and the thing is, like, they're not meant... It's called the Gates of Hell trilogy because there is somewhat a gate of hell in...
Yeah.
I'm calling it 1 and 2. I'm just calling it 1, 2 for, like, City of the Living Dead and Beyond. They're not linked with each other. The only way they are linked, 2 ways maybe, is they've got a gate of hell, and they've got the same actress in both. Catherine McCall. Catherine McCall? Did I get that name right?
Yeah.
Oh, Katerina McCall.
Yeah, well, I think I think she goes by both, depending on.
But yeah, this one
credits listed.
I don't even know if the house has a gate in the entrance to it. Like,
no, I mean it does have a tomb in the house. It does have a tombstone in that house.
I mean, there is a... Did you catch the line in this film about a tomb being in the house?
Yeah, about the ground being frozen in winter, so it was easier to bury people in the floor.
Oh, it's common for houses around here to have tombs in their houses.
I don't think that is common anywhere. I haven't researched it, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is entirely made up. For the plot of this
Check
film.
Under your floorboards, folks. You may have a tomb in your house.
I mean, in gardens, maybe, but not in, not under the floor. And for the first time, I say it was the second time I watched it for the purpose of the pod. I had watched it previously. The first time I watched it, I was convinced that tomb. That ledger stone is on the first floor, so like the entire run of film was like, okay, I'm maybe gonna, I can suspend my disbelief and believe that you've buried somebody in the floor, but why are you burying him upstairs? Like, surely the ground floor would be a better option.
But it's not even a tomb. It's because underneath it, which we find out later on. I mean, I didn't really plan to go. Yeah, I didn't really plan to go through this shot by shot. This film in particular.
No.
But it's just another way. It's just like they plugged the hole with a gravestone.
Yeah.
In a way, into the cellar. That's all it is.
Yeah.
A tomb would be you take that bit of rock out, and it would be a small space or stairs going into it. Yeah. But it's just there's another hole into the basement they plugged.
Yeah.
Which leaks blood at times.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about the basement is like the big sort of like unknown for a lot of the film, and we get Anne, the babysitter, sort of randomly like trying to take the planks off in the middle of the night. And
oh,
there's one thing that strikes about this film, and as we're doing our usual thing of jumping back and forth, but you've got to kind of accept that every character in it has got some sort of like severe amnesia or head trauma, because they do not react to anything in a normal way.
No.
Like, there's a point where the estate agent gets killed, and the estate agent gets killed, and then the next day she's brutally stabbed and dragged down the stairs into the basement. So there's blood like all over. And the next morning, the babysitter is cleaning up. She's scrubbing up, she hands her knees, bucket of water and a mop. She's cleaning the blood. And the lady of the house comes in and asks her what she's doing, and kind of shrugs and walks off. There's like absolutely no reaction to the fact that
there's a lot of blood as well.
There's a lot of fucking blood that she's cleaning up in her house. It's very, very strange. People just, again, there's another point in the film where, because the cellar door is like nailed up for a portion of the film. It's it's got this sort of don't go into the basement vibe. And this is one of the things about the story sort of bailing out, is that it assumes, it sort of leads us to believe that there's something sinister about this Anne character, the babysitter, who just sort of turns up out of nowhere, and she's very sort of sultry and sinister. And she's just prizing the boards off the door in the middle of the night, and the husband comes down and sort of finds her doing this.
Yeah.
And again, just shrugs it off and leaves it. It's absolutely like... doesn't react in any nobody reacts in any normal way to anything that happens.
There's no point. What are you doing? What's up? what are you up to? Nothing like that. I'll get back to Anne in a minute, because I've got points on her. A brief. I've just found a brief plot, because you go on most websites, you've got the whole plot. Yeah. So this film, because I didn't understand it, I'm going to read this. Not many people would have seen this, I don't think. Historian Norman Boyle and his wife Lucy and young son Bob. Can I just point out, with the worst dubbing I've seen so far. It doesn't fit. Leave New York City and move into an old house outside of Boston. I have a point on that as well. The house belonged to a colleague of Norman's who died under mysterious circumstances. Bob believes that a girl at the window in a photo of the house on the wall is warning them not to move in. Once in the house, they experience mysterious things. Something that lurks in the locked cellar emerges and brutally kills people. Norman digs into the house's past and becomes intrigued about the story of its previous owner, Dr. Jacob Freudstein, who was engaged in unorthodox experiments. That's your film, okay?
Yeah.
Now, along that plot, we've got here, Bob believes that a girl at the window. Now, this girl we do kind of get introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
No idea who she is. She seems to have magical powers. She seems to make mannequins decapitate themselves and then leak blood.
I think it's visions, isn't it? There's like a lot of Shining vibe going on. Like she's having visions.
The one thing I can say about this film, it is a house by a cemetery.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they are spot on with that.
But yeah, this is the whole. I mean, that is the plot in a nutshell.
That's it.
That is the plot in a nutshell. What you get when you watch it though is the little girl Shining vibe, where it sort of leads you down. It's a haunted house route. You get the creepy babysitter Anne turning up, where she's trying to get into the basement. So it's like is she on the side of the evil?
Yeah.
In like an Omen, like the nanny in the Omen sort of parody. Then there's like a little bit of will they, won't they, like between the professor and Anne, as to whether there's some sort of they're going to end up having an affair, and that's related to something somehow. And then it kind of finishes up as being more of a slasher. It's a a creepy guy in the basement. It's weird. It has a lot of these tangents that lead to nowhere. They just bail out on, and they decide that they're going to do something else.
A couple of things I've literally just found now. The young girl is Mae Freudstein.
Well, that's the twist at the end.
Yeah, and only Bob can see her.
Yeah.
There we go. See that? Maybe I was asleep. I just did not catch that.
But again, it's not presented in an overly clear way.
No.
And so, because Bob talks to her at a certain point, well, the first time he sees her, like in real life, he's sat in the car, and she's telepathically talking to him from the other side of the street, and he just accepts that as being perfectly normal. He's like, oh right, yeah, and there's a lot of flip flopping between, no, Bob, you're making things up, and I believe everything you say is true.
Yeah.
And nobody can stick to any sort of rational reactions or acceptance or way of communicating. It's they don't know what they're doing one scene to the next. It's very strange.
It really is everywhere, and I don't want to say that in a way of shitting on the film, because there were aspects I enjoyed of the film. I think the effects were. I feel like the effects got better every film, if I'm honest. Some of the special, I mean, the effects got better, but I felt like there were gore effects in here for the sake of gore effects, like where the camera's panning into one of the cuts just for the sake of it gushing. It didn't really have context or meaning behind it, which
did itself a huge disservice in at least one case. The bat.
Let's talk about the bat.
I mean, it's up there with the tarantula scene from The Beyond.
Wow.
So I was a fan of the bat scene. But we have a classic moment.
The strongest bat ever.
It's another good example of how nobody reacts to anything properly. Yeah. So there's been this whole sort of build up to the fact that the basement is sealed and there's maybe something weird going on in the basement.
Yeah.
And Norman, is it the professor? Yeah, Norman, the father of the family. He finds the key. He ends up getting the key for the basement, and he's like, right, I'm going to show you that there's nothing to worry. Unlocks the basement, takes a little bit of force and manipulation because it's rusted shut or whatever. Opens the basement. He's like, I'm going to show you there's nothing to be worried about. Opens the door, sets off down the stairs. As he sets off down the stairs, his wife says, shall we come? And he's like, no, you stay there with Bob. Like, all of a sudden, there's a threat in the basement. Like, like, hang on a minute, you're supposed to be disproving that that there's anything wrong with it, but you're acting like there's definitely something wrong with it. And he's slowly creeping down the stairs with his flashlight, like something's going to jump out at him at any second.
Like they're in the fucking cabin at Evil Dead.
Yeah. And of course it does. A bat suddenly appears.
Watch out, it'll get in your hair.
And it does get in her hair.
It does get in her hair. He did not watch out.
She runs around with the bat in her hair for a while. And then it attacks him and it bites his hand. And it's such...
It gnaws.
Extended sequence of him running around with this bat on his hand. And it's like something from Ace Ventura. It just keeps kind of escalating. He's rooting around in the drawer for something, and meanwhile his bat's like squealing and biting him. He eventually pulls out a pair of scissors and stabs the bat, and we get a close-up shot of him stabbing the bat. And with one stab move, it bleeds from like 4 different puncture wounds.
It reminds. Go on.
And we've still got what feels like another return of just stabbing this bat and sewing it and working the scissors around in it.
It reminded me of kind of reminded me in There's Something About Mary, where the dog bites him.
Yes.
And then it changes. Obviously, it's a silly comedy, and it changes to a puppet. But he's like banging the dog,
shaking it around, and bashing it around. It's very much that sort of thing.
It's just so ludicrous. Like the bat's teeth and jaw must be what, an inch wide. The jaw,
like
absolute
most.
You couldn't just grab it and rip it off. This bat was in. It was not letting go. How strong was its grip?
No, it was unreal. I loved it. It was definitely up there with the tarantula scene. From,
Well, at least it looked better than the tarantulas.
It did look better than it did. Only marginally,
yeah,
but it did.
It was also, I
like
guess.
I said,
sorry. No, we always do that.
Say, the gore effects were good.
Yeah.
Apart from in that scene where one stab and it bleeds from like 4 different places. It was great.
I was going to say with the bat, it kind of goes back to our cliche animal jump scares cliche, because it was actually I thought it was a good jump scare. I didn't see a bat coming.
No,
after what we'd seen, that kind of came out of nowhere, but it was a classic animal jump scare rather than it was more extreme than a cat jumping and then oh kitty, horse.
Oh yeah. It was kind of an expansion on that trope. We got a little bit of gore out of it as well.
Yeah,
like I say, maybe a little bit over the top, but it was an interesting use of the trope, shall we say?
Oh, for sure. I'm trying to work out where to go really with like we normally flow really well, but the film, like we said so many times now, was so everywhere. Like it did have an A to B plot, but it went A to D, back to A a little bit, then to M, and then like it just diverted. So yeah.
Multiplication sign 3.
Like
the
first scene was the impression I was getting. I was getting a very big slasher vibe from the first opening scene, and I was also getting it from when I was doing and you should never rely on posters and artwork. More so posters, not so much artwork, because artwork can, for films back in the day, is interpreted in a completely different way. Like a poster for a film that's done in an art style can be completely different to what the film actually is. And the artwork for this, you've got
I know what you're thinking. You've got the guy with the long hair, the almost Vincent Price-esque with the knife in behind the cemetery. There's not a character that looks anything like that.
No, not at all. I was thinking slasher, especially after that first scene where there's a young girl and, well, we don't even see her boyfriend. I think they've been canoodling, shall we say, in this abandoned house.
Yeah.
And she is now looking for him, hearing creepy sounds and movements, and she's getting freaked out, and then suddenly she gets killed. She has a knife in the back of her head after she sees her boyfriend completely massacred.
Yeah.
But the hand also that we see do it is really like burnt or mutated. It's the hand that's gripping the knife.
There's something wrong with it. So that is basically the colleague of Norman Boyle.
Yeah.
He's the professor, and the girl, I don't think we ever get her name, but it turns out she's his mistress.
Right.
So they've been having a bit there and killed, and then it's later presented that the story is that he killed her and then killed himself, and there's reference to him being hung, but he was completely mutilated and stabbed in the heart with a pair of scissors. So how, presumably we're supposed to believe that the good Dr. Freudstein, who ultimately transpires to be the villain, later staged a hanging with the corpse to try and lure more people there or something. I don't know. But yeah, but we go from that, like you say, very slasher-like setup to
very
basically a Shining knockoff. Because the next scene is Bob seeing the picture of the girl, and then we see shots of May herself, like having these visions of the mannequin, like head coming off. And
that scene, I like. So is that a vision that didn't happen?
That's what I took from it. It's like she looks at the mannequin, it does bear a resemblance to the character of Anne. And I think it's while she's looking at it, because this is just like, I mean, obviously later we find out that this little girl's a ghost. She's not even real. But in that moment, as far as we know, this is a real life flesh and blood little girl, and she's looking at this mannequin in a shop window, and then while she's looking at it, the head comes off and rolls away, and
I see.
It's foreshadowing through, you know, what we're supposed to think is some sort of psychic vision. And like I say, she's sort of telepathically talking to Bob, and we're getting this sort of like the house might be haunted vibes. The mother has a moment where she's hearing banging and noises, and she has a little screaming episode because she thinks that she's going crazy.
The bloody good screamer.
Yeah. So we go from slasher to haunted house. Like Amityville, there's something evil in the cellar.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it's, you know, back to slasher again.
Yeah, it really is.
Or, you know, for want of a better genre to put it in. You've helped with that. You've made a lot more sense, because I was again, I may have just been watching this at the wrong time, but I was confused with the beheaded mannequin scene, because later on when we see clips of Anne, it flashes quickly back and forth to the mannequin. Yeah. And I now stupidly, now that makes so much sense, was thinking, was Anne the mannequin? And has Anne come alive? Because Anne is very suspicious. She is, yeah.
Very suspicious.
For no reason whatsoever. Absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, so I was like, hang on, is this the mannequin? Are we watching Mannequin here? The film? And like, has the little girl got powers? Has she done it? Like, I was very confused, but no, what you're saying makes sense.
I can't say I'm surprised, really. Like I say, yeah, it is weird, and you're not really given any explanation as to who she is. I don't even think there's any mention of getting a babysitter until suddenly Anne turns up. I'm the babysitter, and she is incredibly suspicious. She barely speaks.
Barely.
She's to the point of being like rude, and particularly towards like the towards the lady of the house, towards the Catherine McCall's character. She's like just giving her the stink eye all the time, which also leads into this like, oh, is she gonna end up having an affair with the husband? And then it all goes out the window when she gets her head cut off, and you think, oh, she's a victim as much as anybody else. She wasn't even remotely an antagonist. Or involved with the evil doctor in the cellar. It's just it's so like, bizarre.
Does it lead you down the wrong path with your thoughts about her to then suddenly be there's nothing obscure about her in any way?
Well, that's the thing. But I don't think it's a bad idea that they do it. I think they just they bail on it too early. Like they could have got a little bit more mileage her being more sinister overtly, and really sort of drive that point home that perhaps she's somehow connected to the evil in the house. But they don't. They lean into it enough to get you thinking it, but then bail on it too early that you just think, well, what was the point in doing it at all? Yeah. It's a strange one.
I think I wrote here, the film tries to deliver more shock value than story. A lot of the time.
Yeah, I think so. There's also another little weird plot element that keeps cropping up but doesn't go anywhere, in that everybody seems to think that Professor Boyle has been there before. Like, there's several characters that mention it.
Yeah, you're right.
Having previously visited, and he's well, again, and because nobody reacts properly to anything in this film, he just sort of like no, shrugs his shoulders, like he's not in no way concerned. Everybody that he meets seems to think that he's visited that town before or been in that house before. But then it doesn't lead anywhere anyway, so it doesn't matter. That happens several times.
It's weird, like, this is all three are Fulci films with, from what I've seen, predominantly the same crew, and obviously one of the same actors. But
this was written by the same person as The Beyond, I think.
But it feels so different.
The music, I think, is also one of the same music directors, and the music in this is terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
it's like a keyboard demo button. In most cases, it's shit.
It feels like you've got a franchise where it's your sequels have been passed around to different directors. Like, oh, who's going to get it this time? It doesn't feel like it fits with the other two at all. And obviously that goes hand in hand with the plot elements of the first two. Have some sort of similarities. Gates of Hell. This has none of that at all. Like we get our one, I guess, zombie ghost monster thing at the end. That's it. It's got a cool look, but I mean we can get to that in a bit, like, or whatever we filmed now. Like, but other than that, it does feel very disjointed from the other films.
Yeah,
in this trilogy. Yeah,
it does. It's almost like it was contracted to make 3, so it'll be better make 3. But they couldn't. But yeah, there's like no consistency on where the inspiration was. Like I said, I got Shining vibes. I got Omen vibes with the babysitter character. I thought, she was going to be involved, and then it's a bit of a slasher, but not enough of a slasher. It's a haunted house film, but not really a haunted house film. They just jammed a bunch of ideas together, and we don't really, although we have got some kills and some gore and stuff, it's not like there's enough for it really to be a showcase for that.
No.
I mean, some of the body part effects at the end are pretty bad. They're like, bits from the rubbish, the rubbish box, the storeroom. We've got a bit of mannequin there with half a boob off.
We've got some maggots left from City of the Living Dead.
There's some maggots left from City of the Dead. Yeah, definitely. It's a strange one. There's a lot of eyes shots again, but again, Fulci.
Always with the eyes.
Nothing particularly horrific happens to any of the eyes, but there's a lot of like narrow, shifty dog. That's how you can tell the dog's evil. Lots of close-up eye shots. There's the strange bit where Bob sees the eyes in the cellar.
Yes, that's
and
what
they're
I was
like very cartoon-esque.
I was going to mention that. So when you're talking about what other horror film vibes you get from this film, I got a lot bit of Black Christmas as well, because we're getting POV of said killer, like hidden around this house, and people are getting knocked off every now and then. Same with Black Christmas, and in Black Christmas when you do see, what's his name? Is it Tim or Tom? We get the name of the killer at one point in Black Christmas, but you see that there's a famous shot of his eye, just like deeply looking at his victims. And I also got the vibe of Suspiria, where the eyes sort of flash at the beginning, like the witch's eyes out in the nighttime, and that's the sort of what it's looked like, where our Doctor Monster down in the basement. I guess that's him, but I don't know if it is him, because when we see the reveal of him, he's this Jason Takes Manhattan sort of mutated looking freak.
He's very Jason-esque, isn't he? He's got,
so I don't really get the eyes that we see. I don't know if it's just a weird vision, or
it is. I don't know what it is either. I tell you what it reminds me of. Actually, it's like the scene in Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
With when they go into Moria, and we have Gollum's eyes. Do you know
yes, where we
yeah,
it is. Yeah. It's when Gandalf starts to explain about Gollum, because we don't. That's the other tease, isn't it, of Gollum? And he's like, he crawls up above the cliff, and it's just this big, I know
but it's a different character design to what they ended up using. Yeah. So it's really disjointed. Yeah, just those sort of big like cartoon. You'd almost expect like Barney the dinosaur to come out, because they really bright and cartoonish.
2 + 2
it's very
is
strange.
4. 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, it does. Let's say it's strange. We do need to talk about Bob a little bit more.
Let's
do need to talk about his
Bob.
voice.
Yeah, Bob.
So
Bob.
his voice is terrible. The dub,
It's insanely bad.
horrendous. It's like they got, because Bob is what, like,
do we have an age on Bob?
I don't know for sure, but maybe 6, that sort of age.
Well, I'm gonna let me see how old the actor was, and then we'll see when the film came out, and then we'll get a rough age.
Yeah,
We'll get like a median age, shall we say? The for one thing, the dubbing voice was certainly not the same age.
no, and this is exactly my point. It's like
Bob.
He was born 72.
Wait a minute.
So it'd have been like 9.
Giovanni Frezza. 72. Yeah. Okay. So we should say 10, maybe? 9,
yeah,
8
maybe,
to 10?
maybe 10. I think he's playing it. I think he's supposed to be playing younger than that. Though.
Yeah, probably.
You know, it's all, Mommy, can I have some candy?
Yeah.
But the dub is exactly that. It's like they've got somebody twice his age and gone, do your best little kid's voice.
It's wild.
And it's so jarring and so it just grates every time he's on screen and talking. I mean, he's got really a really expression, animated face, really full of expression, and which is great. But the voice they've gone with is
here we go,
just horrendous.
Voice dubbing for Bob, Francesca Guadagno, and
So it is a woman, Francesca.
Francesca, she was born in 1967, so
yeah,
she was
20.
14.
Oh, sorry, 14.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds older though. It's like a 20-year-old doing a 20-year. You say to a 20-year-old, do a 10-year-old's voice.
It's fucking Nancy Cartwright doing Bart. Like it's an older person doing a younger character's voice.
But not as well.
No, really not as well.
Yeah, it's just awful. It is just awful. He's an irritating character throughout.
He really is, with his little car, his little race car. Yeah, he's also got a really annoying face. I wouldn't say that about a child, but he really has. Like,
I mean, I did just describe it as being really, full of expression and animated, but we can use annoying. Annoying's a good word.
I was going further with it. He's got a really annoying face, and I don't like it. I have a nitpick about this film.
Mm-hmm.
So the plot being what? Just one?
Just one nitpick.
Oh, no, I got a few. Let's say I've got another nitpick then.
Okay.
So they obviously the plot they leave New York City to an old house in Boston, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way they leave New York City is wrong.
Oh, because they cross the bridge.
They're driving south through Manhattan, and then they drive over the Brooklyn Bridge, which goes to Brooklyn and Coney Island, or Long Island.
Yeah.
It's the other way to Boston.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go that way. And it was wrong. And it's such a stupid thing to point out, but I couldn't not notice it. Yeah, but if
you know and you notice, you can't help it, can you? It just becomes like really.
But it's. Like I mean, they obviously did it for the location shot. I think we talked about that when we were talking about Scream 6, which was set in New York. Mm-hmm. All you need is a shot like that, Brooklyn Bridge, or in New York City. And they did. That's probably what it was for, to show. Oh, okay, they're leaving New York City. Twin Towers in the background, or were they in the background? 81.
Yeah, they were.
81. Were they? Okay, but that's all they needed to show we're in New York City. Fine, or a yellow cab, which they did. But go another way. Go the other way. It's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to New York, but there's probably some equally iconic New York stuff from the other side, from the way that they should have gone.
It's only because I went twice last year for work, so I'm now like, it's in my brain like, no, that's wrong.
Now you're practically a local.
I may as well. Hey, I'm walking here. Hey, there we go.
But yeah, I mean, those shots are good. But yeah, I see what you mean. They are. It didn't occur to me at the time, but as soon as you said, I could see it. But things like that always happen in films. You notice stuff and you go, oh, that's...
It's like a continuity thing, basically. Yeah.
That's going to annoy me.
With the dubbing, actually, just go back to it. Did you... Mm-hmm. What was with the dubbing? And this could maybe we can lead this part into talking about our Jason Takes Manhattan monster at the end.
Sure.
Said monster, Freudstein, the dubbing of him is he crying like a little girl? Or is that the little girl in the ether crying? Because there's a lot of it at the end.
There is a lot of it at the end, and yeah, I don't know. I don't. In short, I don't know.
Why don't you know?
Because they as they escape and they're walking out of that house, or does he escape? Can you really call it an escape? Anyway, as they're leaving, there is like the whimper. It's like the whimpering of a child.
Yeah.
But
yes, you're right. Yeah.
But I was maybe thinking, is it Bob? Is it Bob that's whimpering? But it doesn't really sound like that. I don't know. It's an odd effect. And it's almost like it goes back to that the house is haunted, where we've established that it's not, or at least not in the traditional sense. It's a strange. There is a lot of it, and I don't know if it's supposed to be the Doctor or not. I kind of leaned more towards it not being, but I honestly couldn't say. It was odd.
It's more so odd as well because of the fact when we get shots of, say, the Doctor slowly creeping towards Bob and Lucy, the mum, when they're trapped in the basement. So the shot is just the Doctor creeping towards them. We hear it then, so that we're sort of led to think it's, I guess, him making these noises.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Very peculiar.
I don't know. I guess mentally, I don't recall focusing on it too much, and I guess I just sort of wrote it off as it being Bob. But maybe it was. But that makes absolutely no sense at all. But at this point, does it really matter? I mean, so yeah, he's a doctor. So yeah, talking about the Doctor, like he was struck off for perverse medical practices. They call him Freudstein, which I suppose is a loose nod towards Frankenstein, maybe. But then he's doing some sort of Dr. Satan-esque cruel experiments and
love me some Dr. Satan.
Using the body parts of his victims to sort of keep his own body going, which I'm sure there's been used elsewhere in something. I know there's a supernatural villain that does the same.
I mean, what about Hellraiser
episodes? I mean, yeah, I suppose.
Like she lures the men back, right? For
for Frank to regenerate. I'm thinking there's another case where it's specifically a doctor that's doing it. And I know it crops up in that supernatural episode. I thought it was maybe a movie about it as well.
I know what you're saying though. Yeah.
But anyway, it's it's not if it has been overused, so I'm not for bringing it up for that reason. But I mean, he's not doing a very good job, is he? I mean, when he gets stabbed, it's just a lot of stag chili and maggots that comes out. It's not.
Is he just shoving that inside him? Like, just pad that out with some maggots and stew.
He's not. It's the Hellboy villain that's replaced all these organs with clockwork. That's what I'm thinking of.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying. The Doctor himself, though, like visually, it's okay. It's okay.
He looks all right, I suppose.
If you get a few close-ups where you can see the latex has not been blended well and it looks like it's peeling away from the actor. I like the really deep eyes, dark eyes that you can't see eyes, the sockets. And it's a different look. It's not like a skull. It's like a, I want to say a burn. Like it looks like his whole head is like
it just
melted.
I mean, it looks like skin grafts, I suppose,
Yeah.
which I guess is what it's supposed to be. But yeah, it's very. So are we? Do we get an age for him? Do we get how old he's meant to be?
Don't think
like 100 years or something. I don't know.
You see, that's the thing. At least with the Beyond, we got the backstory right at the beginning. We got a date and saying when was he a mad? Oh, the Warlock.
The wall, yeah.
Was doing his business with the painting and whatnot. We got context as to when it was happening, and then we know how old and how long it's been going on for. This I don't believe we did.
No, because this is again I didn't think we did, or if we do, it's sort of glossed over. But again, I think it comes back to this fact that it doesn't really decide what it's like. All right, the Doctor being the killer opens up. It opens up the movie. It's the beginning of the movie, although we don't see exactly who the antagonist is. But yeah, it's like it was decided on at a later date there, where they went, "All right, yeah, we've got the Doctor in the basement." You're telling me that like the estate agents have this house and people have been living there, and that there's like a guy popping up and killing people and stealing their body parts to keep himself going, and that's been happening for like a long time, and no
investigations whatsoever.
Nobody's investigated
Nothing.
it. Nobody's spotted it. Not one of the previous homeowners is like. Well, actually, one of the previous homeowners boarded up the door to the basement.
Yeah.
So
incredibly well, by the way. Apparently, like it was so hard to get into that basement. Apparently, and when they move in, they're not even that really interested about checking it out.
No, it's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Check out. Oh, we've got a cellar space. Let's go and check it out. No, it doesn't. Don't care.
No, it's fine.
But if it is sealed up, like, how did he get out to kill the people at the beginning?
Yeah.
It's very. Or was it sealed up after that? It's just
because the door itself kind of moves as well, as if it's got a mind of its own at times.
Yeah, which is like, is that him? Like, I'm trapped in. Suppose you kind of led to, because they're doing the haunted house thing, so you sort of think, oh well, there's a ghost in the basement or whatever, or it's the house is haunted and stuff's rumbling and rattling and moving around. But when it turns out to just be a guy down there, you sort of think, well, how has nobody found him? How has this been able to carry on? I mean, there must have been a period where nobody was living in this house for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's managed to keep himself going. Like, it's a big suspension of disbelief, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. Oh, God, what was I going to say? With that scene, though, the last scene with the Doctor and like they're trapped in the basement, I did quite like... it wasn't really... It was creative and not creative, how Lucy is killed, the mum.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to escape through the other side of said tomb with Bob, trying to break through it. And the Doctor grabs her, but drags her down the stairs. So as she's being dragged, her head is cracking on every step going down. And that is how she dies. He actually doesn't do anything apart from drag. I thought that was quite... I've never seen that before. I thought that was quite
No, because
creative.
when it pans back and he just like drops the legs or whatever, and it's like, boom, she's dead now. And you think, hang on, I didn't see a kill, and then it's like, oh yeah, actually that's what it was that did it. Yeah, and it's sort of off camera as well. You don't really see it all, or you don't see it. It's not sort of framed like a traditional kill in a horror film, I guess, where it's like front and center focus. This is somebody being murdered. Yeah, it's pretty unique.
And obviously before that we've got Norman's death, which is a throat rip, which again felt like a gore for the sake of gore, because it's like the camera is shooting Norman's throat rip, pans to the doctor, or pans back to Lucy and Bob, then pans back to Norman, back to his throat rip, which looks like they had to like do another take, maybe touch up the blood. It's like let's try and get this really nice. Like it didn't have the effect, like an impact as well, because we'd seen so much gore throughout the film. And a lot of times you want to keep your big payoff, your gore payoff towards the end of a film. But for this, I mean, you look at the estate agent. She got it pretty bad.
Yeah,
she got it really bad, like really gruesome. And there were some visions earlier on as well. Were they visions, or were they the doctor moving around the basement looking at his victims? There's like one hanging, there's one with his complete torso ripped open, and you can see the chicken breasts inside and the pig guts. When you get to a kill right at the end of your main character, it didn't really have the long-lasting impact because you've seen it all throughout the film.
Yeah, fair one. But it's I don't know. I guess with the difficulty of watching it and trying to follow what's going on as well, it's like it doesn't have you too focused on trying to work out what's the deal here, what's the story. There's no big spectacular ones. I mean, Anne's head reveal is pretty good.
Yes,
it comes rolling down the stairs and then rolls into frame, and Bob lets out that shriek and legs it. But alternatively, at the end of the film, just talk about that little punk again. Yeah. When he climbs out of there, it's fine. It's totally chill. It's like he gets out of the crack in the ledger stone, the tombstone, up onto the house, into the house proper, and just stands there, just fine. Everything's absolutely fine. Literally over. The threat is gone the second he sort of gets out of that. It's like, right, don't need to, just calmly walks off with.
Well, the threat's gone, but the threat is still there in a way.
I mean, it's very. It's a very odd ending. It's in fact, I suppose that's another link to all three of these movies. I guess the endings are a little bit open to interpretation, left open on purpose. It's not ultimate. There's not really any distinct closure because his parents are dead, but he managed to escape the doctor. But it is the doctor's. The ghost of the doctor's wife and child that lead him off. Where are they taking him?
I would say the Beyond has a stronger ending of all three. It's not a happy ending, but it's a stronger.
No, ending. It's a stronger one. It's a little bit. It's a little bit more clear and straightforward as to what's actually happened. Yeah, definitely. The other two are very ambiguous as to whether it's over or not. Really.
Yeah, I mean, City of the Living Dead, it's like it should have ended 5 minutes before it does end. Or not even 5 minutes, 30 seconds before it does end, actually.
Yeah.
Where they escape the underground hell, whatever it is, the caverns. And then we should stop. Rather, we keep going, and then the kid runs to the screen with big screams happening behind him, and then the screen breaks.
Yeah.
Why? No idea. This one, I've just read the last line I found on a couple of reports of this film, a couple of plots, that apparently when Bob is brought up from the basement, it's by May, the young girl, and the old woman that we see a couple of times, Mary Freudstein, who I believe is also Ghost, she leads them into a limbo, like a purgatory or a ghost world after that somehow.
Okay, I mean it just looks like country lane, but there's a shot of him outside walking down a country lane. It's all tree lined and stuff. I mean, maybe they're being led into some sort of limbo, but he's not dead. I mean, she's a ghost. We see her tomb. We see her grave.
Yes, we do. Yeah,
at several points in the film. And I suppose we see the girl there as well. And I guess I mean, maybe it's something I should have picked up having seen the film before, but it's just too difficult to follow. But I guess that is supposed to be like a nod. That might be something. If you watched it again and you were looking for it, you might pick up on the fact that they were ghosts earlier on.
Mm.
Like that we keep seeing them at this grave site and stuff. But ultimately, it doesn't. Apart from it being, I guess, sort of a reveal, a twist ending, it doesn't really come to anything. And yeah, I'm none the wiser as to what happened really at the end. Like what the fate, what the fate of Bob is.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like we've obviously we both sound, more so me probably, sound like we haven't fully captured what the film was trying to deliver, and as we're trying to talk about it in the podcast state, but it's just how it came across. I think the film, for me personally, I found it quite hard to discuss because I didn't quite get it. I can't give you 100% full analysis of the film because there were certain parts I just didn't really get. If I'm honest.
In some ways, that's perhaps a good thing because hopefully, it might make you want to go and see it for yourself. Perhaps you should. Maybe everybody should just go and see it for them. And
I would recommend it.
See what you make of it.
I would recommend all three of them. I really would.
The first time I watched it, I did enjoy it a lot. It was a little bit more of a struggle watching it the second time, but I think because these old movies, they are quite cheesy, and the effects can be a bit laughable, and you can have some fun with them. I think the first watch is always a little bit better, unless you really, really like it.
Yeah.
I think you're always just going to get a bit of a giggle and a bit of a kick out of watching something of this period. More the first time. I mean, there is another good scene where they're trying to chop down the cellar door.
Where they chop his hand immensely.
Off. Yes.
Yeah.
Another good axe scene, struggling to chop through the door. It takes ages. It takes absolutely ages.
Again, takes ages. Yeah. Very reminiscent of the news reporter trying to get into the coffin in City of the Living Dead, which takes a good half hour.
Absolute classic scene, though. And
it's an incredible scene. Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree, I agree with what you're saying, and it is difficult to talk about, and it's difficult to be enthused about the whole thing because it is a little bit weird, and you just have to see it for yourself. I guess you do just have to go and watch it for yourself.
Yeah, leave it to your own opinion, really, for this film. Which I guess not many horror films do. They're either a cult classic or they're awful nowadays. This I would recommend, and I'd give it I think that's fair on IMDb, a 6 out of 10. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'd say that's a 6. That's a 6er, a solid 6er.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got the option of something better, then watch it. But if you're really sort of thinking, I'm going to watch something, if it's one of them, it's been on your list for, at some point, you knock it off and see what you think about it. But yeah, wouldn't rush out. Is it one for the collection?
As a trilogy,
Maybe. Yes. As a trilogy, yes. If I happened across it for next to nothing in a second-hand shop, I'd probably get it for the giggles. But it's not on my.
Out of all three,
need to get it.
I'd still recommend The Beyond, because of the fact, they're labeled as a trilogy, but they're not consecutive. They're not one after the other. You can go watch The Beyond on its own and you'll be fine. And
of course you can. And you can also, you can watch these as out of order. We chose to watch them in the order of release, but it doesn't matter because there's no connecting story, there's no connecting plot to this trilogy. It is often a loose cult, described as being a loose trilogy, and by virtue of the same director and linking actors, and that's about it really. So yeah, you could easily watch it as a standalone. Yeah, The Beyond's the best one. I'd agree.
I think I'm fairly certain when we did The Beyond, we maybe looked up the Gates of Hell trilogy if there was any physical releases. I think we found one, but it was. Yeah, here we go.
I think we did. I think
quite
we
hard
found
to
some,
find.
Yeah, we found some vinyls of the soundtrack.
Oh, we did. I found this. This was beautiful, but it's not on offer. It's a DVD. It looks like a sort of grindhouse cover, and it was done by Arrow Films. That was it, Arrow Films. And it's obviously not going to be in stock. I think you found it, or maybe one of us found it. It was like £80, I think.
Oh yeah, I do remember finding that.
That would be a nice part for the collection, I think. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. £90 on eBay. 3 films, 30 quid a film, probably with special features and their classics. Not bad. Not bad for a collection.
It's not bad for a collection of 3 really good movies.
Yes.
I think that's...
Yeah.
For me, that's a little bit too much for what they are.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, say, the next thing I want to add to my collection. It would be if, I've come into some money. I'll pick it up.
Or if I found it for a better price.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 30 quid top end. Yeah,
fair enough. I mean, I just checked Music Magpie doesn't have anything. Let's have a look at CEX, shall we? For anyone listening outside of UK, CEX is basically a video games, DVDs, Blu-rays, electronics, all you can get, all second-hand store, basically.
Yeah.
Computer exchange, I believe it's.
That is what it stands for, yes.
Gates of Hell.
Yeah. And, yeah, they do a good line on cheap movies.
Oh.
What have you found?
Gates of Hell, CEX, £15.
Oh really? Is it that same collection?
And it is allowing me to add it to my basket.
Well, there you go then. 15's a decent price for it, I'd say.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, cool. Did you have anything else? I didn't have that many notes, like I said at the beginning.
No, I didn't have that many notes. No, I think we have covered pretty much everything. Like I say, there's nothing particularly. The soundtrack, the score's a little bit crap compared to some of the other ones, where we get some nice dark synthwave in some of the other movies, but this one does sound like a Casio keyboard on demo mode. Nothing particularly stand out. Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I say, every character, and it is literally every character, just comes across as having sort of amnesia or like some kind of inability to interact properly with people, which is quite odd. Yeah, no, I can't really add any more, to be honest. It's all right. It's worth a go if you want to be a completionist. You want to watch all 3, then by all means give it a go. It's not the worst thing. It's running time's about 87 minutes, I think it is.
I think all 3 they're not long films in general. It's weird. It's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. And as a trilogy, none of them are bad.
No.
I mean, I know you didn't like City of the Living Dead, but they're not.
I didn't like City of the Living Dead, but I'm not. I didn't, but I'm not sitting here thinking it was as bad as Antrum. Or
don't say that. We loved Antrum. I love Antrum. Antrum's brilliant. I loved it.
If just in case it's listening.
God.
I'm not. But I guess it's. I've come to realise with City of the Living Dead, I watched it once. It was reasonably entertaining. I don't feel any need to watch it again. I watched House by the Cemetery and I thought, that was reasonably entertaining.
Yeah.
Watching it again a second time for the podcast, I've gone, actually, once was enough.
Yeah.
The Beyond, I might, again, I'm thinking now, The Beyond, I'd probably watch The Beyond again.
Agreed.
But would I feel the same about it after watching it again? I don't know. You know what I mean? None of them are bad. They're all worth a watch, but none of them are bad.
Agree.
And it might just be a one and done sort of trilogy. You know, watch it once.
I think so.
Say you can tick it off your list. You can say you've seen it. If the DVD comes up really cheap somewhere, grab it for the collection so you can be a nerd about it. But
part of my horror collection. That's completely fair, and I agree with all of that. The only one I would watch again, maybe in a few years' time, is The Beyond. I don't have the interest to watch House by the Cemetery again.
No. I've done it twice now, and that is definitely.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah,
I don't need to watch it again.
But we did it.
We did it.
That's the trilogy.
We did a trilogy. We saw something through to the end.
We did it. We actually did.
We started something and we actually finished it. I'm dead proud of us.
And it's going to have its own playlist on the YouTube channel. That's exciting. And the thing with we've finished something is not even a franchise. It's a made up trilogy with a trilogy title that isn't really focused on that much.
No.
It's 3 films that just so happen to be by the same crew, same director, that he thought, let's group these together.
Yeah. You know, it's not worthy. Fulci's a name that everybody's heard of. He's a big name out there in horror generally, and specifically Italian genre films. But yeah, it's decent. We did it. Have we got anything in the mailbag? You checked the mailbag recently? Because if you would like to share your thoughts after watching the Gates of Hell trilogy, you can email us, thedreadcastpod@gmail.com.
Like it.
As ever, we would love some feedback, some interaction with you guys. Any of you guys that listen to the show and stick with us, tell us what you think about these films. Is there a message?
I believe it's fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. I'm okay. If you're listening, I apologize. I'll probably butcher your name. Do you know Fun's real name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, actually, I'm not gonna say out. This is from one Fun the How. Find her on Twitter. She's lovely. This feels weird. Reading a mailbag, and we've got one coming in from one lovely Fun the How.
There we go.
Whoa. Sorry, I just got a loading. My mouse turned into a loading circle on Discord then. For a second.
What's happened again?
Hang on, folks. I'm going to read this message. And we're back. Right. Hey, you lovely loonies. I hope you will shut up now from not getting any mail, you nutters. We will never shut up. We will never shut up about this because we want the mail. We want it. But we have an amazing first inaugural piece of mail.
There we go.
Letter now. So
print it, frame it.
By the way, I still remember that, was it Ryan said you were going to frame the first email you get? He may have done, so I may have to print this out and frame it. Horror films I really want you to watch for reasons. Number 1, Veronica. It was suggested to me to watch this movie, and I have to say I enjoyed it quite a lot. Plot is kind of thin. And it ends there. Psycho Gorman. I am aware of Psycho Gorman.
Psycho Gorman's brilliant.
Yes, I have seen a full review of it, but I would like to watch it.
Yeah.
You want a trash movie? What do you think would happen if Power Rangers are mixed with the idea of a horror film and turned into something that you could barely call a horror comedy? In Germany, it's rated FSK 18. On one hand, I could see why. On the other, it's just really, really trashy. Muppets Gone Bad. You watched everything, kind of regret it, and then you didn't regret it. It's like watching a train wreck. You don't want to watch it, but you can't look away. And the third film, The Curse of La Llorona. Haven't seen it yet.
I think I've heard of this.
Haven't seen it yet, but want to know if it's worth a watch. La, and then
La Llorona. Yeah,
LLORONA, yeah. Wait, that wasn't the film we were talking about that a friend of mine suggested, was it? The medieval one?
No, I don't think so.
Different.
This is something else. This looks, and ignoring the eerie warning of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment, a social worker and her own small kids are soon drawn into a frightening supernatural realm. Ooh.
Okay.
It looks maybe a little bit like Mama.
Oh, which you're a fan of?
No, I hated it. It was awful. But I don't mean it looks like Mama.
I could have sworn you said you liked it because it was part of our what makes a horror film scary.
No, it was terrible. I hated it. It was an awful film. It showed the creature too soon. It was good up to a point, I think is what I said. I liked it up until the point where they show you the ghost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, this looks pretty good actually. I like the look of this. Yeah, and like I said, I don't mean it's got Mama vibes because I think it'll be terrible. But the poster is like a sort of ghostly lady holding two children's hands.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it does. It looks like some sort of.
Just to finish the letter, last but not least, The Happening. That's a bad film.
Is that what's his chops?
Yes, it's exactly what you think it is. Yeah. Don't know if it would hold up when I watched it again, but yeah, I'm a fan of stuff not seeing but being creepy, so maybe that's why I like this film. That's fair enough. Again, just like Caroline Williams, it's okay if you like the film. It's okay.
That's it. We can't judge. We won't judge. It wouldn't do if we all like the same stuff. It's not one I've seen, to be honest, but it's Shamalama Ding Dong in it.
You don't need to watch it. I hope everyone's doing good. Thank you for making an awesome podcast, and please never stop. Oh, thank you very much.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, we have many films to go through, so
we do. Indeed,
there's an abundance of films.
The next email will read, "Please stop.
Please stop.
We've got no plans.
Don't listen to her. Stop. I need to know a lot more.
Dead.
I need to know a lot more about films I never watched and probably never will. Thank you. I can hyper focus on the topic without living through all the trash films. I expect for Psycho Gorman, but you can have everything. Love you lots. Fun for how. Thank you very much for that lovely letter.
Thank you. That is wonderful.
And your suggestions.
That's it. We're providing a service here. We'll watch some trash so you guys don't have to.
That's it. And that one line there of need to know more about films I've never watched. That is what another point that this podcast is about.
Yeah.
Hopefully getting listeners in thinking, oh, what's that about? I might watch that.
That's it. Bringing attention, I mean, we do go spoilerific with stuff, but hopefully it still piques your interest enough to go out and seek these films out, because some of them really are need to be seen to be believed.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. That's fantastic. And definitely I'll check out. I mean, I 100% want to watch Psycho Gorman again. I thought it was great. Veronica is not one I've heard of, but I will be checking that out. 2017.
I am glad it's Veronica and not Verotica, because Verotica can die. That film. Fucking Glenn Danzig making films.
Oh, yeah.
That is a piece of trash.
This also looks like it's another supernatural haunting one.
Okay.
A lonely teenager using a Ouija board or something, contacting. Again, I think it's based on a true story as well, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Ouija board summoning something evil, and the La Llorona one also looks pretty good. Give that a whirl as well. Both Spanish films, I think.
Okay, cool. Noted. Thank you very much again.
And that's what we want. That is what we want from the mailbag. So if you would like to send us a message and make some recommendations of your own, I mean, it doesn't have to all be praise either. You can tell us what we're doing wrong by all means. But the dreadcastpod@gmail.com. Send us your recommendations, what you like, what you don't like, what you like about us, what you don't like about us. And yeah, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to get that engagement going. So please do feel free. You can also contact us via our socials, which I think Tom has probably put down at the bottom of the screen there.
They're always there.
Always there. Our Instagrams and Twitter, as long as Twitter lasts.
Elon Musk, seriously.
We'll see, because it's starting to look like a sinking ship more and more.
It might be there. It might be there tomorrow. It might not be. We don't know. But it's at the Dreadcast on Twitter and at the _Dreadcast on Instagram, and the podcast itself on Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean, Amazon, and YouTube. All by searching the Dreadcast for all our past content. And we are back after a week of technical difficulties, but we're back. And next week, I'm really looking forward to next week because next week for releasing, but next week we'll be recording soon.
Yes.
I fucking love this film.
Species.
And I'm looking forward to it. We'll be talking about Species, the mid-90s greatness. And
I don't think I've seen it since release. I'm looking forward to watching it again.
I was exactly the same. And you'll find out what my opinion was on it. So after Species, again, middle of July, we'll be looking at our Stephen King debut with Maximum Overdrive. After that,
I mean, of all the Stephen King movies,
I mean, you can't go straight in with The Shining.
The Shining. We could have done It. We could have done Carrie, Pet Cemetery, Misery. No, we're doing
Maximum Overdrive.
Killer Trucks.
We're back, baby. Society comes after that, and then after Society, we'll be doing, because I'm not talking about that. It will be capping off July with just Boris Karloff, basically.
Yeah.
Just Boris Karloff. Busy month for July, and then 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks of the episode of the podcast in August because life things. We'll be looking at The Exorcist, and it was actually Return of the Living Dead Day the other day. Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And that's your next 5 weeks.
That's your upcoming. That's your 5 weeks. We've got some. That's good. That's a good list of movies really good. There.
Yeah, you got your 90s greatness. You got a classic in Stephen King. You've got a mad film, which is Society.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a nice little retrospective on your Monsters of Universal, and then 2 utter classics in August.
Yeah. That's good.
Lovely.
Wonderful. I think that's us then, isn't it?
I believe that's us. And I'm glad because I don't have to think about this film anymore because it's hard. It's too much to think about. Go watch it. Go watch the Gates of Hell trilogy and let us know what you think. All right. Until next time, folks.
Until next time, stay spooky.
Stay spooky.